Mic check, mic check, mic check. What up, people? How you guys doing? Got this little mic thing I want to hook up here, trying to get that. Hope y'all hear me clear. Energy, Man, by the way, thank you to all my subscribers, man. I'm going to keep thanking you guys. I really value you guys, man. I'm getting you guys slowly but surely. It's an organic thing. I like the way I'm getting them because I really feel like I'm building relationships through my subscribers. It's not crazy. It's at a nice pace where I can, respond to everybody, and I'm loving the feedback I'm getting on these videos that I'm putting up, man. And you guys are really motivating me to do better, and it's going to get better. I keep telling you guys, and time will tell that story, and we'll show better than we can tell you guys, right? So, but thanks for hanging around. Thanks for the support. Really do appreciate it. Trying to keep these videos really unbiased and really trying to get back to boxing, man. Legacy and being honest and not fanboy riding boxers, but fanboy riding the sport we love. I'm trying to bring the sport back in the right way, and the way it used to be. That's the way I like it. Maybe I'm getting older. You see the grays in the beard, so that might speak to it. But I really am not jacking a lot of the new wave energy. You know what I'm saying? These little fan clubs that are being set up all around these content spaces. So this particular topic, we're going to talk about Ryan Garcia, and we're going to get a little more in depth into Ryan Garcia. I put a video up yesterday or last night, and just reacting to the fight. I'm trying to be fair to Ryan because I am a fan of Ryan Garcia. I want to see him. Do well, and I think he can do well. But at the same time, acknowledging the shortcomings of the young bull. You know what I mean? And sometimes with these young bulls, you got to give them a proper chastising to get them back in place, to get them focused. Ryan Garcia's got a lot of gifts, super fast, a lot of power. He has the ability to knock you out in one punch. And anytime you have a fighter with those God-given skills that they have, you always see the potential in them. But sometimes what happens with these fighters is because they're able to use these skills they've been given to by God, they begin to stop working on the things that God didn't give them, and actually becoming the things that are going to actually make them better fighters. The things that when they layer it on that foundation that God gave them, that's going to separate them from the crowd. And with Ryan Garcia, I have to be honest, this is a situation where we're looking at a kid with a lot of natural God-given abilities and talent. This kid has over 200 amateur fights. This kid can box, right? You have to say this kid can box. But he's become lazy and content with what he brings to the table. And sometimes when you have these fighters who are successful early in their career by knocking people out, they waste a lot of that time not training because they think they don't need to, or not training in the capacity of really trying to add and get better at what they're doing, right? When you look at Ryan Garcia's past, he comes into the boxing world from the amateur world. He's a pretty boy, you know what I mean? Or let me not say pretty boy to demean him, but a good-looking young boy that that all the girls like. He brought that in sync. I don't want to say teeny bopper, but he brought that energy, that YouTube. He was appealing to a lot of young fans, casuals, people who weren't even into boxing as much as they were into him. So he was very popular. And then, like I said, with that super left hook, that fast left hook he has, he was putting down a lot of opponents early. He was getting a lot of recognition. They were calling him the new Oscar De La Hoya, the Golden Boy. And he naturally went with Golden Boy because you can see the I don't want to say similarities, because really Oscar was just on a whole nother level as far as talent is concerned. But they both had that pretty boy image going, so naturally, I guess he would attract to that area. Well, in the beginning, other Mexican fighters took interest in him because he was the young guy on the street, the new kid on the block, right? And Canelo, Eddie Reynoso, Canelo's trainer took interest in him, was like, I'm going to help this kid get to where he needs to be. Well, there were early complaints, and they felt like he wasn't committed enough. He wasn't coming to the gym enough. He wasn't dedicating and committing himself to being the best boxer he can be. And, you know, greatness, let me tell you something about greatness, man. Your environment, who you deal with, who you rub elbows with, say a lot about you. And sometimes greatness at first will be attracted to you. It'll want to attach itself with you because it'll see greatness in you. But when greatness starts to see that you're not taking advantage of your own greatness, real greatness will eventually separate from you, because that type of energy is a contagious thing. You know, energy is a real contagious thing. And when you see that an energy is not on the same frequency level as you, a real successful person will see that real early and just start to separate from you, just off the strength of not wanting to get none of that on them. And I think that's what was happening a little bit, you know, just a little bit of that. If you don't want it, distance yourself from me. And, you know, they did. Reynoso walked away from that situation and just was like, that's not for me. He ended up going on with Joe Goosen. And Joe didn't necessarily handle it like Eddie did, but he did at the same time, right? So there was an interview where Joe Goosen said, you know, you don't train Ryan Garcia, right? That's not what you do. You go along for the ride. I thought that was interesting. Some people thought that was kind of like, you know, there were people who actually threw shots at Joe Goosen for that, saying that like his training style was a flawed style. Like, you know, most real coaches don't play that. They run the show. When they're training their fighters, the successful ones, it's their show. They don't do what the fighter wants. They help the fighter get to where the fighter wants to get by being the disciplined one, the structured one, the one that keeps the fighter in line, who's not going to make the fighter comfortable all the time, who's going to be honest with the fighter and tell him what he needs to know and make sure he does what he needs to do to be the best fighter. They're not just going to ride his wave. So in so many words, Joe Goosen was just letting me know that, you know, his services weren't needed, that Ryan was somebody who pretty much knew what he wanted to do, how he wanted to do it, and he was just there to facilitate that. That's not a good thing, you know, especially when you're young like that. So Ryan is showing patterns of having a hard time, you know, following instructions. You know what I mean? I guess it's a good and a bad thing in life. You know, on one side of the coin, you know, he's not a follower, he's a leader. And, you know, he's just not going to fall for anything. He stands for something. And that's great. That's a good quality to have. But at the same time, sometimes that mentality can get in your way and where you're trying to get to in your career or whatever you choose to do in life. In this space, boxing, a very dangerous sport, you know. I think it looks like Ryan kind of carried an energy from that he brought in from the amateurs. You know, in the amateurs, you don't prepare for fighters. You prepare yourself as a boxer. And when you get in the ring, your preparation, you know, you don't know who you're fighting a lot of times. You walk into the building and it's just like that guy and that guy. You guys are next. And it's on. You just got to fight these guys. So I think there's a loose way of coaching in the amateurs to where the fighter really does, you know, have a large part of the fight he does in the ring that relies upon himself, not in game planning and necessarily. There is game planning there, but not necessarily game planning as the pros do. Why? With the pros, your coach and your team is watching video on the fighter that you're looking at. There's game plans being made on how to approach the fighter and how to win against that fighter. And you, as a fighter, is expected to carry out the game plan in the ring. Ryan has a hard time structuring his journey around that. He's not doing it as well as you'd hope that he would do it so he can get to a successful place. You know, when you saw him fighting the other night against Oscar Duarte, you saw he was doing a lot of freelancing and doing things that just weren't fundamentally right. They were it was messy, it was unsafe. You know, he was really blessed to have the opponent he had, because the opponent he had wasn't really throwing a lot of punches while he was moving. He was a very stationary opponent. He was a very predictable opponent. You know, he was really tailor-made for Ryan Garcia. You know, just sitting there and being a punching bag for the most part. You know, I mean, he was pressuring and doing those things, but once again, very predictable, very easy to catch that guy with Ryan Garcia's style. because he's just walking forward with his hands up, and it gave Ryan Garcia an opportunity to try some new things, you could say. But at the end of the day, we didn't see anything new and improved about Ryan Garcia. He still was backing up with his hands down and his head high, right? This is dangerous. He can't do that, especially in the 140-pound weight division, where the champions, you have a lot of big punchers. You know what I mean? You got Subriel Matias. You have Teofimo, who's a decent puncher. He's a decent puncher. You got Regis Prograis, who's a real puncher. Even Rolly Romero is a puncher. You got to protect yourself at all times in this weight class. You got Gary Antoine Russell, who's not a champion, but check him out. Do your Googles. He's 17-0 and 17 knockouts. This division is a stacked division. And if Ryan Garcia isn't going to get those fundamentals down, he's really set up for a real wet up. The habits that he has will eventually end badly for him if he doesn't begin to really curtail the trajectory that he's going with the way he boxes. And shout out to Derek James, a lot of pressure for him to come in teaching old dog new tricks. And not that Ryan Garcia is old, but he's very conditioned in the way he approaches boxing. Clearly, by the way, because I know Derek James is a very fundamentally sound coach. He's all about the fundamentals. When you watch his fighters like Errol Spence and Jamel Charlo, and, even Frank Martin, when you look at these fighters that he actually trains that are like his fighters that he's actually, building up from the ground up to a degree, you know what I'm saying? Errol, he definitely was, but, with Jamel and with Frank, it's a little bit not necessarily from the ground up, but you guys get the point. They're very fundamentally sound. When they punch, their hands come back up. They step into their jabs. Pull their hands back. They understand the importance of protect yourself at all times. Ryan doesn't come with that. He's very unorthodox and very awkward in that way. And then even last night with him doing this funny, the night before last night, doing this funny, I call it the California roll because he's from California. But what it definitely isn't, you guys can call it whatever you want, but what you never should call it is the Philly roll. Never call it that. Whatever you want to call it, egg roll, taco shell, California roll, I've heard it all. Don't call it a Philly roll. Let that sizzle in your spirit. But that was a very messy, dangerous thing to do. Turning your back constantly like that. That's not what are we doing at this point in his career? Ryan Garcia had an interview where he said where Brian Custer actually asked him where he plans on being this time next year. This man said he planned on being a 2-division champion. Unified champion. I mean, I'm loving the sound of that. That sounds like something exciting to watch happen. What a journey that we're going to be present here to watch. But what we saw last night is not getting him that. And we all have to be honest about that. You have some content creators out there who are really just shooting their credibility in the foot by fanboying this boy and not being honest about what they're seeing. Either you guys don't know about boxing the way you guys claim you know about boxing, or you guys are really fanboying, because there's nothing that you saw. There's nothing I saw in that ring the other night that's going to have me be confident that this man's got any smoke for the people that I've mentioned earlier in this video. And I'll say it again. Why not? Devin Haney, maybe he can clip him, but fundamentally, he's not on this man's level. Devin Haney will run circles around this man. Stop lying to yourself. Teofimo Lopez is fundamentally sound and blows him out in fundamentals. He will run around this dude and piece him up for 12 rounds if he doesn't stop him. That's what he will do to him. Subriel Matias will put that boy in a coma. You can say whatever you want to say. He gets hit a lot, this, that, and the other. Listen to me. Subriel Matias will put that boy in a straight coma. Do your Googles. Regis Prograis will knock that boy clean out. The pressure he's going to do is going to be, he's going to take advantage of a Ryan Garcia that we saw 2 nights ago. That Ryan Garcia that we saw 2 nights ago with that with that California roll, egg roll, taco shell, whatever you want to call it, will get hurt by Regis Prograis. Listen to me. Gary Antoine Russell will embarrass that man. He doesn't want to get in the ring with these guys the way he was. He does not want no problems like that. And Rolly Romero will mess around and end his career, because you get knocked out by Rolly Romero, your credibility will go straight down the drain, because we all know Rolly Romero is fundamentally on the spectrum, to say the least. We know this. So you get in the ring, that's a very high risk, because one thing Rolly will do is punch on you, and punch on you hard. Whatever you want to think about him, he will punch on you hard. And if you're coming in there with all these flaws and all these holes in your defense, you're giving an opportunity for a fighter who's really on paper not on your level, but because of how much of a puncher he is, he will embarrass you. Things need to be fixed. Shout out to Ryan Garcia. I am a fan. I remember what he's done in the past. I'll never forget that Luke Campbell fight. You know, that showed real heart, real character to get up from something like that and end the fight with a body punch. I mean, you know, impressive. But brother, we are going into another chapter in your career. You're going to another level in competition, and you have high goals and aspirations. You're not a YouTube fighter. I could see if you were like, you know, only looking for like exciting fights and you weren't really concerned about getting belts or legacy, but it seems like you're very legacy driven nowadays. Your interviews would lead me to believe that. Well, brother, if you're legacy driven as you say you are, then you know the competition that you're getting ready to put yourself in front of. And those holes that we saw need to be addressed. And content creators, man, stop doing this stuff, man. You guys start at once in one place, man, with a certain idea. Either watch more boxing, or, you know, I don't know what's going on, but some of the stuff I'm hearing, I don't know. I don't know what you guys are seeing. I don't know what you guys are seeing. And let's keep the conversation where it's supposed to be. You know, I'm talking about him competing against the champions in the 140 pound, not anybody. I'm not saying Ryan Garcia can't beat nobody. That's ridiculous. I'm holding Ryan Garcia to a high level, to a high standard, because that's where I believe he should be. And clearly you guys think that as well. So let's speak about it on the level where it's supposed to be. On a high level, this man is a B fighter. And I'm being nice. He's definitely not an A fighter. In many aspects of the game, he falls into the B-C category. Those type of things that I'm talking about doesn't get with A fighters. That's how that works. But I mean, look, everybody's entitled to their opinion. So we'll see. Time will tell that story. Let's see what Derek James does with Ryan Garcia. Let's see if he can, you know, tuck that chin. Let's see if he can get these fundamentals on point. And if he can, listen, I said it before and I'll say it again. Speed and power. Naturally, he has this. He's gifted in this area. And when you have that, you are a contender. He's not a prospect. He's a real contender. But with those holes, and if you don't patch them holes up, you guys gonna see. You guys gonna see. A wise man once said, I'm gonna show you better than I can tell you. Ryan Garcia, and you know, Bernard Hopkins said something that was very significant. And you know, I just put a video about him because he has his own issues that he's dealing with right now. But let me tell you, when that man said boxing will expose your bluff, he was speaking from experience on that. Not that he's ever been exposed, but from what he's seen. A lot of guys who come in with so-called talent and they're supposed to be all this and that, and they come in the ring with that level up talent where they got to prove and show and prove everything that everybody's saying about them, and they get folded and clowned and embarrassed. And like he said, on camera, it's in front of everybody to see. I think Ryan knows the truth. I think Derek knows the truth. And real boxing enthusiasts know the truth. But you content creators, man, get it together, man. It's your boy Rain. This is ATP Combat Media. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. Comment. Tell me what you think. Am I that far off? Am I an idiot? Do I need to not quit my day job? Either way, man, God bless you guys. We'll see you guys on the next plug-in, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Please don't forget to subscribe and share too, man. Appreciate you guys. Peace.